is up? Okay, that works. Cool. Alright. Currently in the process of working on this Legionnaire. Got all the base coating done. Now we're going to do all the silvers. Pretty much covers the whole thing. So we'll start. Am I too quiet? Here, I can fix that. How's that? Better? I'm trying to find a good placement for my mic so it's not in the way. Sweet. How's the music? Do I need to come up with it? Cool. Probably go for maybe a couple hours here. I was hoping to get to play some Space Marine 2 today, but that didn't happen. I'd like to finish this dude before I jump to that. If all goes well here tonight, we may or may not make this a regular thing. That's TBD. See if the algorithm likes me. Let's try the mic down here. That might not be in the way. Looks a little better. Hello. Honestly amazed that I'm getting the quality that I am. While we're here, anybody got any Warhammer questions? I already know the answer to that, considering the two of you. Right here, we're working on a legionary for my name is escaping me off the top of my head. I should have my notes pulled up. I'm gonna do that because I can. This is the Fervent Storm warband. And I've been doing some homebrew with them. They're a warband from the 23rd founding. I think that's what I decided on. Oh, unstated founding. Official unstated founding, sometime in M36. They were ordered to be created by an Inquisitor, of all people, for heavy siege warfare, similar to that of the Iron Warriors, with one of the main differences being they used pyrotechnics as well as heavy artillery. And their chapter master at the time got curious as to their origins because it was being kept secret from them by said Inquisitor. And he found the answer to be a mixture of both the Salamanders and the Iron Warriors. You're right, I am ashamed. Big guns and burn everything. Not necessarily break it. Well, and this Inquisitor ended up being revealed to have some secrets that were more along the nefarious lines. And so naturally, the entire chapter felt betrayed. So their chapter master killed her and strung her up on top of his command throne in his battle barge. And then they went rogue from the Imperium. So they were considered excommunicate traitores, which conjured the Red Hunters to have to go hunt them down and annihilate them, because that was one of that chapter's jobs. It's a canon chapter. I didn't make that one up. Kind of like the Minotaurs, but different, according to GW anyway. You burn it on the brakes. Yeah. Their war cry is tested in flame, forged in resolve, all souls burn the same. Kind of became their mantra. But the Red Hunters ended up chasing them into the warp, and it's there that they discovered the ruinous powers and warp corruption and demons. And so they decided to embrace that. So they are a fan of warp corruption and possession, but they don't necessarily understand it to be from the gods. So they would be considered chaos undivided. Not that they refuse to acknowledge the gods, it's that they're kind of oblivious. And that they just accept the power as it is. They did. That's why the Red Hunters went after them, because the Ordo Malleus sicked the Red Hunters on them, only for them to discover that the Inquisitor that initiated their creation, or their founding, was already strung up and very much dead. So now they're traversing throughout the warp. Not necessarily through the warp, but they're in this area called, I changed the name of it, hang on. I originally called it the Nexus Pit, but I wasn't a fan of that. The Wraith Pit. Yeah, that's what we went with. And it's an area of the warp, or an area of real space around Badab, where the Badab War took place, that tends to be a pretty heavy chaos location. That's where my other chapter comes in. Sometimes that happens. That's something I'm working on. With a lot of homebrews, it's difficult to add canon events or other canon chapters for fear of doing them a disservice. But right now, if they were to align with anyone, it would be my other warband, the Putrid Maw, who are a band of World Eaters, who are also coincidentally corrupted by Nurgle. So they're angry, smelly boys. Why did I jump to this? I don't know. Whatever. I'm not used to doing this under a camera. It kind of messes with me. I do have written up that sometimes they align themselves with the Iron Warriors because they are their progenitors. And I'm trying to figure out a way to write in that they found Perturabo and have tried to appeal to him as his sons, but I want him to have nothing to do with them. So writing in the Iron Warriors to fight alongside them has been a little difficult. Because if you know anything about Perturabo, he's kind of picky, to put it nicely. They're just trying to conquer this section of real space. So they have a lot of interactions with the Sons of Sorrow, who are my primary loyalist chapter. Oh, you don't know Perturabo. I should have guessed that. 4th Legion, Primarch. He's an interesting fellow. He has a reputation for being a petulant man-child. But if you look into him a little deeper, and this is why I like him so much, he's just a guy who really wanted a hug from his dad. He proceeded throughout the Great Crusade just to try to prove something. Because he was a natural-born genius. He was an inventor, a strategist. He was superior to any other being on his home planet, but they didn't acknowledge any of his accomplishments. And he was superior to them, and he knew it. He was that kind of guy. So when I read about him, I really just can't help but feel for him. And that's the very much abridged version. Why did I skip this? Talking is triggering my ADHD. Usually I do this in silence. But yeah, so these guys, they would have been founded 6,000 years roughly after heresy and all that. So I've been working on some more in-depth yeah, I mean, basically, he was just a sad boy because nobody understood him. So what did he do? Whenever the Emperor found him and introduced him to his legion, the Iron Warriors, he basically had them draw straws. And so for every 10 of them, he had one of them be killed by the other 9. Like, that's the point that he came to. Howdy, Bucephalus. So these guys kind of developed the same thing that they have, just something to prove. Ah, I see. Bucephalus, as in syphilis, but not. Okay, I got it. Yeah, everything I do is homebrew because that's the most fun part for me, is writing up pages and pages and pages of lore docs. I've got 4 right now, and over time it's definitely going to grow to more, but I'm focusing on the 4 that I have at the moment. Not necessarily. The Ultramarines are kind of, they think they all got it put together, because Big Daddy's rulebook tells them what to do. I do have some Death Guard models over there. Yeah, the lore building is the most appealing part to me. But in order to build the lore, you have to know a lot of lore, which I have been blessed with because I know life lore between books and YouTube and any other resource I can get my hands on. Maybe next stream I'll work on some Sons of Sorrow. That's my other Loyalist chapter. Oh, I get it now. Yes, we know. Archaeologist, you say? Any specialty there? Or just overall anything and everything? See, and this is the conversation we were having yesterday. It got a little heated. I know. I keep bringing it up. That's intense. Yeah, you'll fit right in. I don't claim to be an expert, but I do enjoy the ever so present historical relevance of anything and everything. Clean that up a little bit. I think it's time to restock my fine brushes. This one's getting to be a little unmanageable. Definitely fit in, that's for sure. I mean, there's rogue traders. Rogue traders kind of, they're more explorers than anything, but I mean, it's in the name. They kind of have a bit of trade. Centralized trade routes are a thing. But a lot of that goes through the warp, as expected. I based my other Loyalist chapter, the Terminus Knights, loosely on German miners, miners, and also a little bit of Germanic Viking elements. Because they originally started out as slaves, but once they uprose and freed themselves, they developed into basically a knightly kingdom that evolved with the intention of the Imperium into a chapter. And that chapter happens to be an Iron Hand successor. So they like things heavy and hard most of the time. I'm down. I like seeing other people's lore. Yes, there are Vikings, but these are the more knightly Germans. So, like, early Renaissance. But they have a mining culture, which is kind of what got them where they are. Gotta be completely honest, I was a little bit inspired by Rammstein. And I know unless you're a metalhead, you have no idea who Rammstein is. But they are German patriots and metalheads. And they introduced some very interesting concepts in their music. And I kind of wanted to build something off of that. So I did. And thus the Terminus Knights were born. I have in their lore that they have a rivalry between them about what's more effective, a hammer or a sword. And it's a friendly rivalry. I mean, as friendly as Space Marines can be, but... Okay, so we have a metalhead. It's fun with me. He says as he's listening to metal right at this moment. Typically a power sword. That's something else I have written in their lore, that chain swords aren't always widely available. Because that's something that's a good idea to write whenever you're writing lore, is limited resources, because not all chapters have everything at their disposal, which is why well, that's one of the reasons that they don't have the strength of the legions, because they don't have equal access to all war gear. The other reason being they're split into chapters now. Okay, so we're talking a little more classic here. Yeah, y'all get to suffer while I sit in my emotional space. So, trader warbands usually get their war gear from the Dark Mechanicum, which are Mechanicus who have fallen to chaos, or they make deals with Vashtor the Archifane, which is a model that I want at some point to run with these guys here. Yeah, and Loot and Pilfer. That is why this particular guy is wearing Mark III armor, because they found a stash of it in a Space Hulk that was in the warp, and it so happened to belong to the 30k salamanders, so they saw it as their birthright, so they took it. I haven't read the Arcs of Omen yet, but I love Vashtor so much, just from what I know of him as a character. Well, they found it. There was no one left alive on the Space Hulk. I mean, it was roaming in the warp, so they either got decimated by demons, or they just died from warp contagions. There's a lot of different things. Yeah, since they're in the warp, they're pretty much anywhere and everywhere. But these guys I tend to keep in my own little space, which is the Wraith Pit. So I try to keep everything fairly centralized because I don't want to write the whole warp, because that's a very daunting task. Or all of real space for that matter, especially after the Cicatrix Maledictum is a thing, and it makes things way more complicated. No, nothing deadly at all. So, these are the Fervent Storm. Fervent meaning fire of spirit. And I wanted that to be more akin to the Salamanders, but also the Iron Warriors, since they take gene seed from both. Because the Iron Warriors are down dirty and will do anything, and they don't complain about it. And then fire salamanders, that one speaks for itself. It's definitely something, something, something. If I ever talk Warhammer with anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, that's all they hear. Namely, Raincloud specifically. I mean, it would be important. This section of the warp. I keep saying the warp. This section of real space tends to open up with chaos portals very often sometimes because of its proximity to Badab and, you know, the war that happened there. And they actually did the Thousand Suns thing and went and kidnapped their planet and took it in the warp with them. So they could have it and a fresh supply of slaves, and yeah, they could recruit. Oh boy, I better lock in for this. Go ahead. Wait, the intro is canon? How'd you manage that? I'll shut up now. Just go ahead. They opened a warp portal and just sucked the thing in, because that's kind of what the Thousand Suns did with Prospero. Because they're not opposed to using Chaos Sorcerers, unlike somebody's, like, say, the Iron Warriors. They wouldn't even think about doing that. Well, the warp functions a lot like real space. And, I mean, aside from, you know, monstrosities and the weird physics and the weird time manipulation and that kind of stuff. But if they have the blessing of the gods, then why not? Interesting. So is that canon? I'm not familiar with, like, the old lore because I know a lot of it has been retconned. I'm not familiar with that race. Basically, I mean, think about the Dark Angels and the Rock. I mean, they took an entire planet, fortified it, and now it's their mobile fortress. Because they basically made their own Death Star. When you said veteran, you weren't kidding. And I don't mean any offense there, but like I rarely meet anybody who's into 40K who's over the age of 30. And those people are very few and far between. And for anyone watching right now, I'm going to anger most of you. Except for Raincloud, because I know he already knows this. I have never played an actual game of 40K. I have attempted a half a game of Kill Team. The sole reason being is because I can't get anyone to play with me. That's it. But I'm okay with that. Because I like writing the lore, and I like modeling, and I like painting more than the actual game. Not to say that I won't, construct my models in an army fashion. Like assembling squads and stuff that are legal within whatever the current edition is. But yeah, I have never played. So I know if I did play, I could probably end up adding a bit more to my lore because I would end up having those stories to add in. I kind of did that with my Kill Team game that I didn't get to finish. Yeah, I'm screwed when it comes to anything pre like 2000. I know some tidbits of the old lore, pre retcon, but nothing substantial because I know it was kind of built out of somebody's basement and they just threw a bunch of stuff together and was like, yeah, that sounds cool, we'll do that, and they didn't expect it to take off, and then boom. Interesting. So have you created like stats for those? Like to actually make them playable? Or are they just lore? Like strictly lore? Hammer Bro was cool, but I have to say, hang on, let me get this painted and I'll show you what he looks like now. You may or may not hate me, but I don't care because it's cooler. He was cool, but we had no idea what we were doing. And he was also fighting Tyranids, and I just really don't like Tyranids, or any Xenos for that matter. Except for Tau, as of recently. I do like Tau. Yeah, so all of those models that you saw that I had painted the black and the green, I've stripped them all and I've given them a completely new paint scheme. Actually, I'll go get one of the ones that I painted with the new paint scheme. Okay, so this is the new paint scheme. The brown and the blue. This is a sergeant, or in the chapter they're called speakers. I'm relatively proud of how he turned out. So yeah, I'm working through 2 squads of these intercessors. but this is what Hammer Bro looks like now. He's Sword Bro now. I gave him a 30k power sword. If you don't look at it, it's fine, but it's slightly downscaled, so the hand is just a little bit smaller than it should be. But that's because 30k models are firstborn Marines, and so they are naturally a smaller size. Oh, this guy, he has a power fist. Yeah, I equipped Power Fist on him because originally he had a chain sword. I don't know why it's not focusing. There we go. He had a chain sword, and I replaced it with a Power Fist. But yeah, so he has a power sword now, and I'm kind of excited to paint it. I've been getting really good at power swords. Alright, back to this dude. Oh, you sent more. Okay. Swear words. I like that. So the Imperium hates them naturally because Xenos. How's the Death Watch feel about them? Yeah, I'm not that brave, but I also don't like Xenos that much. I like to stick to my humans. Chaos, Imperium. That's where I'm happiest. That's the lore I like to dive into the most. Yeah? How would you go about doing that? Just mail them the idea? It'd be interesting. I'd be curious about the deep lore. Like, would it be reminiscent of, like, orcs or something? What pieces did you use for the conversions? I assume fantasy lizardmen would be one part. Right? That is a thing in fantasy. That's another thing that angers a lot of Warhammer fans is I'm not really a fan of Warhammer Fantasy. I love fantasy in general, but Warhammer Fantasy just doesn't really appeal to me. I don't think the guard would accept them. Unless they were human-based. I mean, because there's the cat people. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they are cat people. Sorry, I'm getting to the trim, so I have to get really close to it, and it gets out of the shot. Okay, that makes sense. Bloodletter bits. I assume for their weaponry. Okay, now you got me to look, hang on. Wow, you actually got this on the wiki. Oh, I'm jealous. I want to put my chapters on the wiki. That's dope. Where did the art come from? Oh, that's funny. On the official Warhammer 40k wiki, it was the first thing that popped up. That's what I use for a lot of my information. Which does track with Tau lore. Because, you know, those space communists aren't racist, that's for sure. That's awesome. What's up, Cookie Cat? Thanks for coming in. Just doing some painting and some lore talk, homebrew and otherwise. Isn't it the greatest? The best thing about 40k is there is no such thing as a dumb question. Because 100% of the time, okay, 95% of the time there's going to be a dumb answer. The other 5% is going to be from the Horus Heresy, and there is nothing dumb in the Horus Heresy. Listen, Cookie Cat. I was just explaining this earlier. I have never in my life played a full game of 40k. Ever. Simply due to the fact that I can't get anyone to play with me. But that's okay. I'm absolutely okay with that because I get to paint up my own warbands and chapters, and I get to write lore for them, and that's what I like to do the most. So it doesn't bother me. I know a lot about the game just from seeing stuff on YouTube and such, and, you know, owning the 10th edition core rules and the 2021 Kill Team core rules. See, I would go to a local game store, but about a month after I discovered my local game store, they shut down. And the next closest one is an hour and a half away. So, yeah. But like I said, I'm okay with that. I went to a Warhammer store recently. It was a couple hours away from where I live. And the guy working there is the nicest guy as can be. And we stood there and talked about conversions for 2 hours. And it was fantastic. He convinced me to get for this particular army, because I was trying to get over 1,000 points and I was almost there. Kind of. I wouldn't have gotten there with one squad. But he convinced me to get Abaddon and kit bash him and use him as my warlord and my chaos lord for these guys, the Fervent Storm. And so I did. He is fully assembled, and I am terrified to paint him. I'll show you him in a sec, because he looks incredible. His name is Yenaro Sibilska, and he's that chapter master I was talking about earlier, who strung up the charred, burned corpse of the Inquisitor over his command throne. I'll go get him real quick, hang on. Oh yeah, we have to do that soon, because I recently discovered the PvE, and we can do missions and play as whatever chapter we want. So this is the Chaos Lord for the Fervent Storm, Yenaro Sibilska. Now, if you know anything about the original Abaddon model, he doesn't have Reaper autocannon on his arm, and he doesn't have a mace. But this dude does, because I wanted to do it and it looked awesome. So, yeah. But I'm terrified to paint him, because if you look at him, there's a lot of tiny little bits. Like a lot. So, yeah. And if you're wondering what these spikes are, it's actually... I'm going to make this base from a canon event, not a canon event, an event that happened between my Sons of Sorrow and the Fervent Storm, where the Fervent Storm planted a bunch of iron spikes on the ground so the Sons of Sorrow could not drop troops. And it was very, very bloody before the battle even started. So yeah. Yeah, and that Reaper autocannon is from the Havoc's kit, which the guy who was working at the Warhammer store convinced me to buy two to use the bits for. And so I did, and I used them for that. And I also got a squad of Havocs out of it, so I'm not complaining. I haven't painted any of those yet either. I need to get on that. But I've got 2 squads of Legionnaires that I need to finish up. After I finish this one, I'll have 1 more in one squad, and then I'll have 2 more in another squad that I have to finish. That head is from the Havoc's kit. I have a wet palette that I got for Christmas, but I haven't taken it out of the box yet because I don't have room on my desk. I need to do some serious reorganizing. Or, you know, you could pay me to paint it. I'd be down. I like painting. Typically, if it's painting for myself, because I get to, you know, write lore for something. We may or may not be done with all of the silver. I'm going to add some on the shin plates underneath where the boots connect. See you, Cookie Cat. Thanks for joining. See, and those will be easy because I don't have to do a ton of detail on them. White is really easy if you don't actually have to try. If you do, then it's an absolute nightmare. Do some last touch-ups here before I slap the Null oil on him. I think we're ready for it though. Oh, Beastmen? Don't they... There are Chaos Beastmen in 40k, I know that. But they're not a playable faction. Oh, oil. Magic in a bottle. I will never go without this stuff. That and the Agrax. Works absolute wonders. I'm not putting Agrax on this guy because it'll destroy him. But the normal health. Absolute sorcery in this bottle here. and I don't have to water it down for them. That's what I would do if I was doing something like that. For my Sons of Sorrow, they have a significant amount of yellow on their armor. Yellow is really hard to both recess shade, and it looks absolutely terrible on yellow if you put it on straight, but I water it down 2-to-1 null oil and water, and it does absolute wonders, and it looks great. Make sure I'm getting it in the recesses here. Probably just gonna finish this one for tonight, and then next time I'll probably end up going to a different one. It's the best part about working on 4 different armies, or factions, or homebrews, whatever you want to call them, is if I get bored of one, I can switch. And I think I counted, I've got about 30 models in total right now of varying sizes that I still need to get painted. So, there's no shortage. Trying to talk is really messing up my process here because I would have started on the head. Yeah, old cannon. You wouldn't find that in a Chaos Codex today. Honestly, you're lucky to find much of anything in the supplementary Chaos Codexes. Unless it's straight CSM. Because, like, I've got my Putrid Maw over there, which I told you were the World Eaters who fell to Nurgle. Well, I would like to run them as World Eaters, but I don't like the World Eaters model range because they just don't have enough models that you can play. So I have them listed as CSM. And so I've just been keeping track of them that way, building them into CSM squads instead of World Eater squads. Yeah, 10th edition. I do have, I think it's a 6th edition CSM Codex, and the reading in that is gorgeous. Yeah, we're currently in the 10th edition. Yeah, I've actually heard of Chaos Space Wolves before, which is a very intriguing concept because I think they're from back in the Heresy. But I don't know a ton about them. Conversions are great. I love doing conversions. I don't use green stuff either. I got some for Christmas, and I attempted to use it, and it was just a nightmare to try to handle. Not even just the fact that it stuck to everything, it was just getting it to shape and getting it to hold, and I just didn't have the patience for it. So I didn't do it. That would be sick. Were these Space Wolves founded, or did they break off from the companies of the Legions? How did they come about? Yeah, green stuff is just pain. And I can't stand it. Because I gave it a solid try. I wanted to make a cape for, who was I making it for? I don't remember now. It was somebody important, but now I can't remember who. But it was just a disaster and I gave up. Yeah, I got it where you had to mix it, but it wasn't, the mixing wasn't bad. It was just getting it to shape right and to hold its shape. It just wasn't fun. Still gotta paint the brass on the bolts in the bolter. That's on my list. Probably could have done a little better down there, but it's fine. It's fine. Let's reshape this. Yeah, I don't have the patience for that. The closest thing I would probably ever use that's close is Milliput, but I would just use that for basing. But I don't have access to any, so I don't use it. Too much. Really got to be careful with these washes. Sometimes I get distracted and I don't pull them to where they need to be, and then it just causes a mess. And I don't really feel like stripping the whole model and starting over again. supposed to do the power pack too before I did anything down lower. I didn't. So we'll do that now. It's too much there. Pull it out. Yeah, the Spaceballs were destined to have some form of disagreement within themselves. Can't deny that. When I was first starting out, I thought the Spaceballs were awesome because who doesn't like space Vikings? Then the more I learned about them, I was just like, they're kind of dumb. I mean, they're cool in a sense. Oops, that was close. Almost had my normal spell. They're cool in a sense, but I can't vibe with them because they're just stupid. I do like the Burning of Prospero, though. Hey, Fridge Trooper. Yes, we are painting. Oh, Black Shield. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Honestly. That's because the lion is a badass. Oh, the whole third company. Yeah, that was another thing I did with my Terminus Knights too. Officially, they're on record as being successors of the Iron Hands. But there is speculation that they are also part Dark Angels just because of their nightly appearance and their habit of glassing planets. The details on that are they have access to these mining machines called core worms. And they have done everything in their power to keep them out of the hands of the Mechanicus. But these machines have destabilized the structural integrity of worlds and absolutely destroyed them. Yeah, the lion is just OP. Yes, he did almost decapitate Angron. I don't know who the primary successor would be because, I mean, Malcador's long dead. The lion would be runner-up, but he's not as adept at running things as well as Gilliman is. If anything, Gilliman was the right man to be revived. This is true. The Mechanicum does indeed come and go. Fun fact, even their tech marines, they don't send to the Mechanicum. They send to the Iron Hands directly. Yeah, I don't know how to help you, Raincloud. The Lionel Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels, the First Legion, if that rings any bells. Dorn, I would argue that Dorn would be eligible. Why did my glue come off? Oh, I'm gonna have to fix that real quick before we go anywhere. Again, yeah, Vulcan has that ability, but he's not a leader. There it is. Alright, well, we'll just... It's already loose. Why is that loose? Interesting. Okay, well, we'll just reglue that real quick. That's fine. Not a big deal. That was way too much. It's fine. It's all fine. Everything's fine. Drazen is indeed the king of Warhammer. But he's earned it, though. Because, you know, being older than anything that the Imperium can even fathom. So, let me explain Raincloud a little bit. He claims to be a passive Warhammer enjoyer. I am not. I am very much an active, very active, sometimes hyperactive enjoyer. See, I want Clone Fulgrim. With the new Emperor's Children thing, I want Clone Fulgrim to meet current Fulgrim. And I want them to duke it out. Because Clone Fulgrim is not corrupted, and it would just add some interesting elements. Okay, that is glued, correct? Yes. Yes? Yes, okay. So, next step here. Add a layer of white to the eyes. That's how I do my glow. Make sure it's super fine and doesn't make a mess, but it's inevitably going to make a mess anyway. Yeah, I'm struggling over here. I'm very shaky, so it doesn't always go the way I want. So if it does go out of the eyes, I just count it as overglow. Yeah, that's super messy, but it's okay because I'm going to cover it up with the color in a little bit. Yeah, I know Fulgrim's back. I just, whenever they release the book, I hope that there's some mention or interaction. It's probably going to end up being just a bunch of Eldar stuff, because he has the blade that's name is escaping me. And the reason it's escaping me is because I don't like Eldar. That would get me shot. But yeah, he's very much a demon. I do really like the new model, though. Alright, so while that white is drying, we're going to come in here this a little bit of sponge work. Here are my pincers. They're around here somewhere. There they are. Alright. Sponge work. It's always fun doing some battle damage. Should have done that before I non-oiled, but again, being live is distracting me. Oh, well, welcome to Warhammer, Fridge. I'm really confused if G-Dubs is actually going to move forward with any of it. I really don't know. I only know that Fabius made the deal with Trazen to trade Fulgrim. I made a mistake back here. I'm gonna cover it up with some battle damage. It's fine. Ooh, that was a little more than I expected. It's fine. Dab some of that off. Games Workshop. Yeah, so I haven't read the Bio book, but I know that he tried to make a clone of Fulgrim over and over and over again to try to convince him not to betray the Imperium or to fall to chaos. But he couldn't do it. And then finally, when the man perfected it, he made a deal with Trazen to trade this for something. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, the pure Emperor's Children gene seed. Which implies that we're going to get... Well, we've already gotten new Emperor's Children, but we might get some pure Emperor's Children. Like back in the days of Saul Tarvitz from 30K, who, in my opinion, is the best Emperor's Children character ever written. I mean, Eidolon's cool. I'm currently reading the Eidolon book right now. So I'm a little Emperor's Children pilled at the moment. Alright, so for these eyes, I do red eyes for these guys. Yeah, sorry I didn't see your message there, Bucephalus. It's actually like a slate blue. It's officially Vallejo's Luftwaffe uniform that I've been using for the torso and the legs and the helmet and power pack and stuff, and then just the arms are Vallejo's intermediate green. So that's been my color scheme for the whole thing. I don't really want to change it up for whenever I do the Chaos Lord because I'm a little intimidated. And this is a method that I'm comfortable with, so I'll probably end up sticking with that because I don't think he looks that bad. Let's see, I was going for the red. Aren't demons and chaos hand in hand? Yes, they are. So Fulgrim became a demon prince of Slanesh. That's how that happened. Yeah, currently all of the Trader Primarchs are demon princes. Yeah, Eidolon after the head shop, he actually improved as a character a little bit. Because he was an asshole. Like, there's no nice way of saying it. And then he became slightly less of an asshole. Once his head got chopped off. Yeah, corruption is... Everything can get corrupted, but not everything becomes demon princes. Demon prince is like something that has to be earned and granted by the gods. And currently, all of the trader primarchs have earned that privilege. Alright, we're going to do this red now. A demon prince is a being ascended to demonhood. A demon is something that is just a raw demon. A demon prince is like a human that has been transformed. It dries, the white should pop through a little bit. Yeah, 20 Primarchs. Yeah. And fun fact, of the 9 that remained loyal, 2 of them are dead. And the others all disappeared. Kind of. I would say if you wanted to name someone a warlock, that would be Lorgar. Because that man sold everything to Chaos. Willingly. Just right out of the gate. Because he was trying to get people to fall to Chaos. Yeah, we'll call that good. Alright, so we're going to go to the base now. Now for these guys, I've been doing a lava base. Actually, what I need to do before I do this, I need to dry brush the glow on first. Oh, you made both Lost Legions? I've heard a lot of people claim to do that over the course of the last 30 years. Alright, so we'll do the glow down here. Needs to be a little more intense. I brushed off too much. Yeah, and that's another thing that I absolutely love about 40K is you can just create absolutely anything. No matter how ridiculous it is how great it is. The philosophy I like to stick with is no matter how absolutely insane something is in 40K, unless a door directly contradicts the lore, which sometimes happens, it's canon. So as far as I'm concerned, all 4 of my homebrews that I have behind me are canon. Oh yeah, I get bits from eBay too. Yeah, I tend to get a lot of newer kits for some reason. Can't really identify why. Are you one of the people who was adamantly against Primaris? Exactly. There's so much space. You can do absolutely anything. Like, I have the map of real space, and I've circled just a little space between Nocturne and Badab, where my 4 homebrews are all from, in this small section. My Terminus Knights are a little bit outside of it, because I want them to expand a little bit beyond. But my Sons of Sorrow, the Fervent Storm, and the Putrid Maw are all in this space. There you go. Are you painting up an Emperor's Children army? Is that the route you're taking? This is something I'm going to do as these, if I end up keep streaming like this, is we're just going to talk lore and homebrew. Because homebrew is my favorite part. And it's my channel and I can do what I want. Okay, so you're not one of the guys who's diehard for Primaris, which is fine. I know a lot of people who aren't. I personally don't mind them, but I also really like Firstborn. So in my stuff, I like to mix it up a little bit. Like my Sons of Sorrow, they were only founded not long after the Badab War, because it was an unstated founding. So they're only about 70, 80 years old, where the timeline sits right now. And so it wouldn't make sense for them to have a ton of Firstborn, because they're a relatively young chapter. They're not Ultima founding young, but they are young. So I'm using that as an excuse to not use hardly any Firstborn. Now, for my Terminus Knights, they're much older, unstated, about 36,000, and they do have a lot of Firstborn. One example being, as I run back over and grab one, is this dude that I converted just a couple days ago, and I just got him primed today. So he's going to be on the painting table soon. But this is a Praetor that I converted into a Firstborn Captain. I kept the Neo-Volkite pistol. Unfortunately, in 10th edition, a Captain can't take a Neo-Volkite pistol for some reason. That's something we don't have to talk about. But this Praetor, yeah, I turned him into a Captain. I used Primaris head with a beard because I thought he would make a good Captain. So yeah, this is Captain Yavitz of House Shul, which houses are like companies in the Terminus Knights, but there's only 3 of them, and there's only 750 Marines instead of 1,000. So yeah, yeah, this was a fun conversion, and I'm excited to paint him up. Yeah, the new box releases are insane. Like, I really wanted the Death Company box, but I didn't want to pay $200+. Because my Sons of Sorrow are technically Blood Angels. They're actually a Lamenter's successor, but I won't get into that right now, because that'll be spoilers for other streams. Wait, what are we talking about? I'm confuzzled. Alright, I gotta wait for this red to dry before I can add the other layers. And then I can paint the rim of the base, and he'll be done. That's alright, I'll probably be wrapping up here pretty quickly. Been streaming for almost 2 hours. Amazing. Fan-frickin-tastic. I need a blow dryer over here so I can just paint stuff on the fly. I think my glue reset. Looks good. Yeah, this dude's a little messy, but he's just infantry. He's not a character. So I'm not terribly concerned about him. I was monologuing? Is that what we call it? No, we're not keeping secrets because I sent you the doc for the Sons of Sorrow and I know you never read it. This dude, no, he's just a legionnaire. He doesn't really need a name. Both my squads of legionnaires have aspiring champions leading them though, so they get names. And they are already painted. You skimmed it and forgot about it. Oops, did I lag? It's almost dry. That might work. But got a bunch of crap all over this desk. Thinking about reorganizing my office and making things a little... Yeah, YouTube didn't like me for a second. That's nothing new. Oh, it's just my internet. Do I do it? Do I practice impatience and just paint the thing? I've been trying to get him into the lore for well over a year. And I have been remotely unsuccessful unless he has been my prisoner. Are you asking me or asking Raincloud? All I want out of Warhammer is the art and the lore and the writing the lore. And if I get to play the game, that'd be cool too. But I'm not concerned about it. Yeah, definitely time to upgrade the fine brushes. Oh wait, that's supposed to be orange. Gosh dang it. Oh, scenery would be awesome. I'd love to make giant dioramas. But I don't get things painted fast enough, so it wouldn't look pretty. And I also don't want them to be permanent, because I like having my little war dollies that I can take off and I can play with and go pew pew pew. That always makes for a fun time. Alright, orange. This is what I was going for. Got my ADHD taking in. I didn't think it would either, but then I found what I enjoyed, namely the Imperium and Chaos. And I was like, this is awesome. Why would I ever want to do anything else? And then I was like, wait, you can write your own lore? Because I was totally, in the very beginning, trying to decide what Legion to paint. And I was like, hang on. There's an entire community dedicated to writing your own stuff. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Because that's what I love to do with everything. Not thick enough. And also, Space Marines are awesome. And 30K Space Marines are written magnificently, and not because they absolutely destroy everything that they come in contact with, but because they actually have some impactful, meaningful dialogue and great storytelling. Some of that transcended into 40K. Some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. And then you get into guard stories. Oh my gosh, Gaunt's Ghosts is so good. I've been doing my damnedest. I've been doing the 40K thing, trying to recruit other people, but I'm kind of just in my bubble. Which is why I have 4 homebrews that are all written around each other. I don't know. Fall Acadia, that was a little unexpected. I don't think he's watched the Secret Level episode. I know that's been a lot of people's exposure recently. I honestly couldn't even tell you exactly why I got into it. I was just like, hey, I'm going to learn about the 40k universe, see what all this hubbub is about. And then I got addicted. And I am not complaining. That is the worst lava I've ever painted. But it's fine. Everything's fine. Well, I just got into Play Space Marine 2 because it was on sale. Yeah, he's not into the deep lore. The deep lore is where it gets good. That's why I have a Lamenter successor. Oh, you did? Okay, well, I've officially lost the game then. Yes, it was the best one. Followed up by the D&D one. That one was okay. For what it was. We're going to call that lava good. So we're going to go ahead and paint the rim. And we'll call him done. And that's going to be the end of the stream. Throw some black in here. This black bottle's almost empty. I'm going to have to replace it. See, I've been a nerd my whole life. I've been actively involved in a lot of different universes. Some more mainstream than others. But upon my discovery of 40k, there was absolutely nothing like it, and it's something I wanted to dedicate endless money and hours into. And I have zero regrets. None whatsoever. And I just got the inkling in the last week that, you know, I like doing it so much. Why don't I stream it? So that's why we're here. That's why y'all are here. I'm planning on doing this again. Considering how successful this has been and the conversations we have had, there is a very good chance. I don't know how often. I might be able to get it down to, or get it up to once a week, depending on how my schedule goes. I can't paint. I can't stream all the time because I have responsibilities because I'm an adult. And usually I paint while also doing other things. So it may not be the top priority a lot of the time. But if I can get in once a week, I think we'll be doing all right. Yeah, and that's neat. Like, that's really awesome. I'll say, whenever I started painting 40k, and to this day, whenever I'm painting 40k, I can honestly say the painting process is borderline excruciating. But when I look at something like this, and I just look it over and it's finished, it has the battle damage and the glow from the base, and the shading. I get so impressed with myself that it just feels good. Like, the dopamine hit is unreal. That's why I do it. Like, I'm addicted to the dopamine at the end. It's not necessarily the process. It's never the process. Yeah, I do have my own fantasy world that I've been doing for 13, 14 years now. I don't know. I've got a big backlog of 40k minis, and I enjoy painting 40k minis more than the D&D minis. So I'm probably going to stick with that. But I do have many unpainted D&D minis that we may pull out every once in a while. Yeah. The creation process is just the most fun thing. And you can't do the creating in this universe without knowing a decent amount of the lore. So that's why I've dived into the lore head first. And while I've been diving in, I've been creating nonstop. So here we are. But yeah, this dude is going to be added to the squad. Next time we do this, we'll see what we paint next. I'm gonna have to end it here because it is that time and I have to work in the morning, my real job. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, watching. I guess I will see you next time. Watch my channel, turn notifications on, do that thing. Yeah, dude, those are awesome. And you've got a lot of years on me because I've only been in the 40k realm for about a year and a half now. And it's been my everyday occupation. And that's not an exaggeration. It's literally been every single day for the last year and a half. So